Welcome back. When antibiotics were first discovered, they were considered a major breakthrough in modern medicine. However, their misuse and the slowness of scientific advance since then has led to an increase in antibiotic-resistant diseases. The World Health Organization has identified antibiotic resistance as a major global public health threat. Scientists and public health officials are warning that we could enter a post-antibiotic era, in which people die from minor medical ailments. Some are even raising the specter of an apocalyptic scenario. I discussed this alarming possibility with Dr. Shabir Ali, president of the Islamic Information Center. Now, Dr. Shabir Ali, when we think of people dying of diseases in large numbers, we usually think of that happening very long ago, people dying of the plague, for example, but we don't imagine that it could possibly happen today. But it seems, from what we hear from scientists and the WHO, that it is possible.
Yes, and of course the WHO has published this alarming finding on their website. It's available for anyone to read. The Toronto Star also on Wednesday, April 30th, had a long article about this.
And many newspapers across the world.
Yes. So it is a reality. What they're looking at is that since the late 1980s, no new antibiotic was discovered. And it so happens that while we've been using the existing antibiotics to fight off the viruses and bacteria and various infections, we have been killing off the weaker ones, but through the process of evolution, the stronger ones replicate. And now we have a situation where the oral antibiotics are no longer effective against some of these viruses and bacteria. Whereas in the past you could have taken your oral antibiotic and you could have gotten better, now for some simple infections like urinary tract infection due to an E. coli infection, one would have to then go into a hospital and get injected with stronger levels of microbial treatments. Mm-hmm. So the general problem that they're looking at is that these bacteria have come back to be stronger, and we can find ourselves in a kind of a doomsday situation where the viruses are running out of control.
Mm-hmm. In part, this is because we've used too much antibiotic, right? We're not willing to let certain illnesses run its course. We go to the doctor and say, you know, give us something to relieve this cold, but we don't realize the long-term implications of that.
Yeah, so this is one of the messages from WHO, that we should not use antibiotics unnecessarily, and doctors should not prescribe them unnecessarily. And if you are prescribed an antibiotic, then you should use it for its full course. Sometimes people use it for a few days and then they feel that they're better. They don't need to take the thing for the rest of the time. But what happens with the few days use is that you've killed off the weaker elements affecting you, and the stronger ones still remain, and they needed to be killed off by the continued use up until the maximum time as prescribed, or the appropriate time as prescribed by your medical practitioner. But if you don't do that, then the weak ones have been killed, and then the stronger ones remain.
Is there a way back? It seems like the pharmaceutical companies don't find it very financially lucrative to be involved in research and development of new strains of antibiotics.
Well, I think there is a way forward in that first of all, if there's a need for pharmaceutical companies to invest in new research and development so that we can actually get the products that we need, then this is what needs to be done. We have to put morality over money, and pharmaceutical companies have to ask themselves, are they in the business only of making money or producing a good for human society, as a result of which they do get adequate compensation. And this is where I believe it is important to think about the importance of religious teachings. In terms of the spread of germs from one person to another, we are told in our Islamic faith to wash our hands and face and nostrils and mouth in preparation for the prayer, and this naturally helps in sanitation in general.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of the unique features of Islam, actually, that it emphasizes cleanliness.
Yes, and it helps to curb curb the transmission of disease. One of the things that came out of the WHO report is the spread of gonorrhea, which is a sexually transmitted disease, and it is mentioned in our traditions that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that a time will come when, due to the sexual licentiousness of people, they will be faced with diseases which their ancestors didn't hear about. And so we do find that there are such diseases now that we're hearing about that was not mentioned by our ancestors. And we have to turn back to God and live a life that is wholesome and pure, so that in addition to the fact that we'll please God and get all of the benefits in the life hereafter, as a result of living a clean life, we also benefit in this life by averting many of the harms that otherwise come with an illicit manner of conducting oneself.
Is it time to start preparing more seriously for the life hereafter? I mean, what I'm reading is that something like a common cold or an infection could lead to death, perhaps, for some people.
Yes, so what the WHO report shows is that in the absence of adequate antibiotics and other such antimicrobial agents, premature babies would lose much of their fighting chance. An ordinary surgical operation would subject a patient to infections, and some of these could actually be fatal. Yeah, we really need to turn back to God. And whereas people have been putting their hopes in medicine and thinking that the medicine is the cure-all, and our advances in science and technology have made us powerful over our circumstances, has given us greater longevity and so on. While all of that is true, and I don't want to knock science, we believe in scientific progress, and that's part of the teaching of our religion as well, to see, to think, to travel, to discover, and to research and to develop. At the same time, we do not put our entire trust in our own abilities and our own scientific advances. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have said that for every disease there is a cure, and so we should seek the cure. And this is unique in religious teaching, in that here we have the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, 1400 years ago, telling us actually to seek scientific cures. Whereas when people think about religion, they think about magic, they think about superstition, and they think about an absence of scientific thinking. But what Islam actually teaches is a balance between dua and dawa. They sound the same in Arabic, but dua means supplication, praying to God, and dawa is medicine or treatment. And the Muslim is told to use both and not to be totally dependent on one to the exclusion of the other.
All right, thank you for that, Brother Shabir.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break. When we return, we will answer questions we've received from you, our viewers.